Okay, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's webinar, Logistics and Transportation Center Security. We are joined by Neal Kearney, Director of Business Development at GardaWorld, and he will be exploring an integrated approach to securing your sites, assets, and people. GardaWorld is a CITT endorsed business partner. These are organizations who offer solutions, products, and services designed to improve business performance in logistics operation. As usual, this webinar is being recorded, and by attending, you consent to being recorded. Any questions you have for Neal, you may leave them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of his presentation. Or you can also use the reactions at the bottom to raise your hand and I will call on you to unmute. Neal, over to you.
Thank you, Tracy, and good afternoon and good morning, wherever you may be from. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us here today as we look at a very important topic that seems to be affecting every aspect of our communities and workplace. Just a quick backdrop. GardaWorld is a global champion in security services, integrated risk management, and cash solutions. Our mission is simple, to make the world a safer place by protecting our clients' people, assets, and operations across the globe. We deliver comprehensive security solutions and personalized service through a multitude of brands. We have our physical security, our systems and technology, our aviation security, our BEST, which is event management. We service every professional league in North America. Our Crisis 24, which is a risk management platform, our consulting and investigations division, our cash services, I'm sure you've seen our trucks around, and TalentWorld, which is our staffing division. We operate over the 5 continents in 42 countries, employing 120,000 security professionals. In Canada, we have 35,000 trained guards, working out of 42 offices. We service 27 airports, and we operate 3 24/7 operation centers, 2 regional and 1 national. And lastly, we're a Canadian success story. We were started over 30 years ago by our current CEO. Let's take a look at our agenda for today. So we're going to be addressing some key challenges and strategies for success. We're going to be demonstrating solutions through case studies, and we've got 5 case studies that we're going to look at today. And then we'll have some summarizing insights, and then, of course, we'll get to some questions. So let's get started. And let's start by addressing those key challenges and strategies for success. We wanted to look at some data just to get things started. And so we pulled some numbers from the CargoNet site, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with the site. If not, I would encourage you to visit the site and check it out. I recently attended a conference where Detective Mark Haywood with Peel Regional Police spoke on the subject of cargo theft. And he used these numbers, he referenced this site. So this is probably going to be about as accurate as we're going to get. Detective Haywood was also part of a joint task force called Project Big Rig. The project resulted in the apprehension of 15 suspects, the recovery of 28 trailers with a total value of $7 million. Some of the items recovered were televisions, chicken, and beer. Yes, chicken. That's really alarming. I know it sounds funny, but it's really alarming because that chicken is going to make its way back into the market at some point. But just some statistics overall. Third quarter of last year, we had 692 incidents across North America. Top targeted items were food and beverage, household products, and metals. In Canada, the top targeted items were food and beverage, home and garden items, and then metals. But adding to that, high on the list was miscellaneous and pharmaceuticals. Ontario witnessed 83% of all cargo thefts in Canada, with the GTA, of course, being that hotspot, particularly Peel region for obvious reasons, close proximity to the airport and the hub, the regional logistics hub that it is. That Peel region is also in the top 5 in North America when it comes to cargo theft. But it's important to remember a few things. You might be sitting in Winnipeg or Regina or Saskatoon or Edmonton going, well, that sounds good. It doesn't affect me. Well, maybe that shipment was headed to you. So it affects us all, no matter where we're located. Something else to consider is with the success of Project Big Rig, those bad guys are going to be scouting out new locations, and they're definitely heading west. So it affects us all. Not all thefts are reported. So like when I mentioned these numbers are as accurate as possible, they're not 100% accurate. And the reason for that is obvious. Insurance, embarrassment, the potential loss of business over losing a load or a cargo. But the one thing we do know is thefts are up. Something else that I like to say is that theft costs more than theft. We all know that. There's the time spent completing reports. There's the police costs and time. There's the insurance. There's the work put into replacing the loss. So theft always costs more than the actual theft. We also know that the bad guys are getting more creative. It's not like they're just sneaking in at night anymore. They're accessing internal sources, no different than any other crimes that we're seeing. They are embracing technology to access systems. They will also focus on more specific targets, where before they might just get in, smash and grab, take whatever they could. Now they'll target a specific trailer or cargo. Think about this: a thief working online can find the identity of someone who is a legitimate carrier, getting their credentials, and from there hit people's inboxes and make direct calls saying we're this company and we have trucks available for haul. Fictitious pickups jumped 600% in 2022 in Canada and the US. Now, they're not high on the list, but they're low overall on the total, but it could still be a huge breach to lose a load out the door that way. So what are your key challenges? Well, it starts with intrusion prevention, keeping the people that don't belong on your site out and keeping the people on your site safe from any intrusion. Pretty basic. Obviously, there's a fair bit of technology here to ensure that's happening. We're talking about CCTV, access cards, and security guards, etc. But also knowing who is on your site at all times, accountability at every level. And when we think about intrusion prevention, we tend to think that it's a security problem, and it is. But you need a robust security plan to ensure that intrusion issues are addressed. And everyone owns this. Much the same way everyone owns safety, and that you see that in a facility. Everybody steps up when it's safety. Everybody needs to step up when it's security. And your team should always know if something doesn't look right, speak up. Again, the same parallel with safety. If you saw, a forklift driver behaving erratically, you would say something. Same thing with security. If you see something, you should say something. That's a Crime Stoppers logo, or saying, sorry. See something, say something. And this can also really address that internal theft issue, because that's the other challenge, is internal and external theft. Internal is really about knowing your people. In many cases, a cargo theft occurs when someone internally makes a call. Someone on the inside tells someone there is something there worth grabbing. Internal obviously accounts for the majority of thefts that are non-cargo. We know that. So know your people. Think about this. Who are the police looking at first when a cargo theft occurs? Now, external is that organized ring. And it's important to make no mistake here that this is organized crime. You have to move an extremely large amount of product. This is not amateur hour. It involves a lot of people, a lot of activity, a lot of logistics. It is definitely organized crime. And the last thing is scarcity of qualified talent. Now, staffing is a bit of an outlier here. There are both benefits and solutions, though, to ensuring that your staffing company can deliver on recruitment, but also do it so that the security risk is low to you. And what I mean by that is your staffing company compliant? And are you ensuring that by auditing them? Now, I'm going to talk more about that in one of our case studies. In today's world, there's just no simple solution to addressing this complex challenge, or these complex challenges. A robust security plan involves a physical security presence, embracing updated technology solutions, risk prevention, CPTED, and audits. I'll talk more about CPTED, CPTET, but I'll talk more about that. Employee engagement and training are vital, and a compliant staffing company. There's a term called wicked problems. If you Google it, you'll see. And it's a term used to describe very complex issues that defy straightforward solutions. So think about global challenges like war, famine, and poverty. These are wicked problems. Crime falls under this category. And as with all wicked problems, there's no one fixed solution. In some cases, there is no solution. You need a multi-layered solution to deter. Your security toolbox must be filled with many tools to ensure that your site is a hardened target. And what do we mean by hardened target? Well, it's one that the bad guys look at and say, let's move on. This is not worth the risk. So we've got 5 case studies that we've prepared to look at. And so we're gonna demonstrate some solutions through those 5 studies. And let's take a look at our first solution, which was Selestica. So the client needs were to achieve a gold standard in a security program that operates efficiently and effectively, protecting their employees and their assets and keeping ahead of security challenges. Solutions and results. So we continue to provide physical security and audits, security solutions, threat and risk assessments at all their sites across Canada, USA, Mexico, Europe, and Asia. We maintain specific and specialized consulting services and security measures and procedures for this client. And we do it at 36 sites across the world. We do threat assessments and risk assessments. So what does a physical assessment or an audit look like? Well, it's a review of everything. So first, let's start with your regional and local threat evaluations. So your location, your surrounding environment. From there, we look at your first line of defense. Then your perimeter protection, your risk of intrusion, your access points, cards, photos, detection systems, and then we analyze your CCTV and video surveillance. We do lighting and CITT. Again, that's CITT. I'll get to that, so don't worry. Guarding, we look at the post orders for your guards. We look at human resources. We actually look at your intake system. Is it secure? We look at your server room. We look at your emergency measures plan. We look for identification of security gaps, potential integration of new security measures, and there's a 3-fold focus here: deter, detect, and delay. We want to deter criminals. We want to detect any security threats, and then we want to delay entry or impact if a breach has occurred. So deter, detect, delay. The recommendations from a consult are broken down into 3 categories: priority, desirable, to be considered. Priority means it needs rapid response. It's an action item right now. Desirable means it's desirable to implement rather quickly, so it's on the radar. And to be considered, it's a minor issue. It should still be considered in terms of risk management. And this is all bundled up in a formal presentation so that it can be reviewed and a company can prioritize where they need to start. Now, CPTED, C-P-T-E-D. You heard me say this, and I'm sure some of you already know this. CPTED stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. It's a multidisciplinary approach to crime prevention that uses urban and architectural design and the management of built and natural environments. CPTED strategies aim to reduce victimization, deter offender decisions that precede criminal acts, and build a sense of community among inhabitants so they can gain territorial control of areas, reduce crime, and minimize fear of crime. CPTED is generally incorporated into almost all new buildings, all park, take a park that's being redesigned, and schools. We're talking about things like pathways and lighting and social engagement and physical components like bollards. And then, of course, natural surveillance like surrounding vegetation. Think about this for a minute. because you're probably going, well, how does CEPTED tie into my facility? If your site is clean of debris, if your fencing and lighting on your exterior is solid, it shows that you're paying attention to your surroundings and facilities. Whereas if it's dirty and there's litter by the fences and they're bent and they're rusty, it sends a message that no one will bother you here. A good example that I would look for is a lot of parks are being renovated to do just very that. And a park recently was renovated in my neighborhood. The trees were all over the pathway, the lighting, the trees covered the lighting, the benches were old and worn down. And all they did was trim back the trees, extend the pathway, update the lighting, put new benches in to encourage people to sit, and open it wide up. Perfect solution using CEPTED. You could do the same thing at a facility just by looking at the outside and doing the same, taking the same steps. Let's look at cargo theft. So here, our client needs were that we had 2 high-valued thefts at around $500,000. Loaded transport trailers were stolen. So our consulting and investigations team conducted a series of security audits on the client's carriers, facilities across the country. And we were able to identify deficiencies in the physical security, the security procedures, and the control of those loaded trailers. And so as a result of the investigations, we determined that security measures and procedures of the contracted carriers of the client were not sufficient. The results was that it gave the client the opportunity to discuss and implement more stringent requirements for the carriers to help minimize the chances of thefts occurring at the carriers' facilities. So again, a series of security audits, deficiencies in physical security procedures, and control of loaded trailers, implementing requirements for those carriers to minimize the chances of thefts. You know, the lesson here is don't wait till 500,000 goes out the door. Review, audit your security, make it a priority. And then your contracted carriers must be compliant with your security protocols. Are they? Let's take a look at a hybrid security solution. You know, earlier we talked about having many tools in your security box. Well, a hybrid solution is the way that a lot of companies address those challenges. And if you look at the photo here, what you're seeing is a mobile patrol, so a guard in a car, and then that those solar panels and that machine and the pole and the wheels, that's what we call a mobile surveillance unit. And I'll give you more particulars on that in a moment. But I'm just sort of showing you the twofold. So we've got the technology piece, and then we've got the physical guard and the mobile patrol. And so here was the client's needs. Develop a security solution that would deter and prevent illegal encampments, protect company assets and shipments, increase the safety of employees, aid in neighborhood watch and safety, prevent vandalism and tagging, as well as enable better communication and visibility to law enforcement. So there's a lot there. So the solutions had to be hybrid. They had to be multiple. We wanted an enhanced security approach. So we wanted manned and unmanned presence to synergize for heightened security, but also for cost efficiency. We wanted a collaborative strategy. So we wanted our security guards and our eCam Secure, which ties in with that mobile surveillance unit. I'll get to that in just a sec. Virtual guard platform to combine forces on site. And the virtual guard platform utilizes video analytics to swiftly detect intrusions, triggering real-time response. Trigger strategic, so that mobile surveillance unit, before I get into strategic measure, can detect that, and it can also call out. It has a lot of options that you can put on it. And so the strategic measures are bright external lighting and mobile surveillance units deployed for comprehensive coverage. So those mobile surveillance units They're movable, so you can put them anywhere on your site. You can move them around as needed. They have a 360-degree camera. They have an interactive speaker. They detect movement, and once the camera detects it, now somebody can look at that camera somewhere else at our national center, detect what it is, and then a warning can be issued via lights or sound and verbal, and then a car can be dispatched to the site immediately. It comes with a full LED light package. It has cellular communication. It runs on solar or DC, and it runs at any temperature. We've run them in the desert, and we run them in the -40. And they do have AI, and they can be enhanced with AI technology, which means that the camera is watching movement and detects movement. It'll determine whether it's a person or just an animal. So they're very cool. So the enhanced security results were verified activity. Guards react swiftly to events because they know what's going on, whether it's virtual or physical. And we can activate alarms if necessary. We have a trespasser deterrence. Lights and sirens effectively deter trespassers and vandals. We've seen these encampments all across the country. We've seen them in industrial areas, in areas where transportation and logistics occur, and it can be a real challenge. And this is a great solution. The prevention of illegal encampments. So those new security measures prevent illegal encampments with that anti-loitering technology. And then the elimination of prior issues. So vehicle thefts, break-ins, and assaults have been virtually eradicated. So it's a great example of just that multi-layered solution. Let's talk about staffing services. Our client was a global apparel giant, and they rely on TalentWorld. TalentWorld is GardaWorld's staffing division, our staffing company, to manage their workforce seamlessly. They asked us to address any temporary warehousing needs, including shipping, receiving, order picking, and material handling for their Brampton, Ontario location. We ensured all 200 roles were filled 24/7, tackling even the toughest hiring challenges. We managed everything from attracting and sourcing candidates, which means onboarding, scheduling, and payroll, to reporting, daily attendance, weekly headcount, attrition, midweek availability, capture for client, the resource planning, midweek availability capture for client resource planning, monthly scorecards, and quarterly business reviews. So with TalentWorld as their managed service provider, our client can focus on growth while we handle recruitment, onboarding, and more. We build 5,500 weekly hours at this client with a 94% retention rate. So I know what you're thinking here. So how does this tie in with security? So, well, let me explain a little bit. Is your staffing company compliant? And I mentioned that earlier in the call. Are temporary employees getting OT? Are they getting vacation and stat pay? Are they getting the right pay rate even? Is your bill rate super low? If it is, that's a huge red flag. Is everybody in your facility even legally allowed to work in the country? If not, you're at risk, both from a labor violation issue, but also theft. A temporary employee properly paid with support from both the staffing company and the on-site company is far less likely to engage in theft. So know your staffing company. And many companies today now have in place audits for just this, for staffing companies, to ensure that staffing companies are doing everything by the letter of the law, as they should. So this is a case study involving Soyugas, which is a propane and gases company based out of Quebec. And so the challenge, the needs and the challenges were they wanted to standardize security systems across their sites. And their primary challenge was in controlling access, especially since delivery personnel operated at all kinds of hours. The company's IT specialist was seeking a comprehensive security solution to ensure operational efficiency and safety, especially to prevent risk of intrusion, theft, equipment damage, and vandalism. And we're dealing with gases here, so the importance of having a secure site is vital. Theft and damage could easily result in explosions and fatalities. So this was very important. Our security systems rapidly deployed strategically placed surveillance cameras to deter the vandalism. Additionally, comprehensive security solutions, including access control, an intrusion detection system, and remote surveillance capabilities were implemented at 2 other facilities. And following the installation of the surveillance system, Soil Gas Propane experienced improved safety for their assets and facilities with no reported vandalism incidents. So that's good news. And I should point out that with regards to those security systems, it's not just cameras that can be installed. We can have license plate readers. If it's a camera that has somebody at the other end, so the IT or somebody from your seat can see that person coming up to the gate, they can talk to them through a 2-way system, and they don't have to be on site, and then they can let them in. So you know who's going to be on your site at all times. The ability to remotely access those systems to ensure security is really vital in this particular case. So let's take a look at some of the summarizing insights of the 5 cases that we presented. And there are 4 key areas that we focused on: consulting and investigations. A facility audit is vital to creating an action plan that will address priority needs. Each site is different, and so there's no one-stop shop. And I think I mentioned that on the first with Selestica. They have sites all over the world. So think about this for a moment. An audit in Asia is going to look a whole lot different than an audit in Mexico. And it's also going to look a whole lot different than an audit in California or Edmonton. When faced with an intrusion, a review of security is vital to implement those future plans. It's a great place to start. If you think security needs need to be addressed at your site, this is the absolute first step. Physical security, whether it's gatehouse, patrolling, mobile, or alarm response, it is vital there is a physical component to your security plan. So you can have all the technology in the world, but if the cameras aren't being watched from time to time, if the alarm goes off and nobody's responding, if there's nobody there, half the day and you don't have any way of responding, then you've got a challenge. You definitely need physical security, whether it is a guard on site 7/24, or whether it's a guard during your busy period and then mobile patrols at night. The physical security component is vital. And then, of course, security systems, and technology. And the right systems in place can harden your defenses, making your site less attractive to those seeking to cause harm, and safer to your most valuable asset, your people. The technology advances mean that the various resources available to you can address multiple issues. So we have so many tools in the systems and technology. The recent security show that I attended really shone a light on the fact that the technology piece has really taken off. So there's so many tools and resources there to address your every challenge at every facility, because every challenge is different. And so everything from card access to gate access, to those cameras, to the mobile surveillance units, and then utilizing AI as it steps up in the security world, like it's stepping up everywhere else. So there's just so many resources available when it comes to systems and technology. And then lastly, we looked at staffing services. And again, yes, a bit of an outlier here, but review your staffing services. Are they compliant? If you supply any service in the Starbucks, and they're gonna come review your site, and they're gonna audit your staffing. And I know this because I saw it happen. So hold your staffing company accountable as you would any other vendor. After all, those temporary associates and that staffing company probably spend more time on your site than any other vendor. And you're looking at those temporary associates that may be onboarding them at some point and bringing them into your company full time. I'll finish with this, and that's for a criminal act to occur, three factors must be in the same place at the same time. The first is we need to have a motivated perpetrator or perpetrators. So we need to have somebody that is motivated to commit a crime. The second is we need a potential and attractive target. You need to see a target that looks worthy of hitting. And the third is an enabling environment. They need to see an environment in their eyes that is welcoming, that has less, what's the word I'm looking for? Less, it's easier to get into than the site to the right or left or down the street. You harden your target and you secure your environment and you know your people and you engage your teams, you'll decrease that perpetrator motivation at your site. You control 2 and 3. Hard to control 1. But if you control 2 and 3, you push 1 away from your site. And when we talk about that wicked crime being a wicked problem, that it might not be solvable, we might always have crime, probably, likely, the whole idea is to push them away from your site, hardening your target, making your target as secure as it can possibly be. Thanks. I finished a little early, but I think we're good. So it gives us time for some questions.
Yes. Thank you, Neal. Okay, I do have a few questions here. The first one, I'm not too sure if you can answer to it. It's a little top of the trending news about Pearson's Heist. If you've had a chance to form an assessment on the valuables from the Pearson Heist. Sorry.
I believe that there was arrests made on the Pearson Heist, and we were not the company at there was another security company that was involved with that. I should point out it was forged documents that got them in and then got them out. But I believe arrest has been made, but because it's not another security company, I don't have anything on that.
Okay.
And my apologies.
Nope, that's okay. Following up from Barry, is Garda encountering devices like AirTags placed in shipments or affixed to carrier assets to monitor the locations or of the targeted goods?
Yes, if you use technology for good, the bad guys use technology for bad. So absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Does Garda base their security assessments based on CTP IP and PIP security standards?
I believe we do, yes.
What concerns of challenges have you seen that has brought you today?
Sorry, is that a question for me?
Yes.
Well, our concerns are cargo theft and internal theft. We do have some logistics companies that have reached out to us. We joined CITT this year because we wanted to build relationships in this community. We've had a lot of success with governments at every level. We've had a lot of success at airports. We're with Canadian Border Services, we're with CATSA. And so we wanted to branch out and get more into logistics and transportation and working in those communities where we know our services can be of benefit.
Thank you. And how do you rate the overall security program of Garda?
So I would ask, I would say our program is we're the top security company in the country. We're the largest private security company in the country. Our multitude of services. I spoke about 5 case studies, but our multitude of services and brands are second to none. 2 things that I pointed out, that systems and technology was a huge growth. It was in huge growth mode. But I want to stress there's some other things that are growing too, and that's risk management, risk assessment is really on the rise. And we have a global risk management team. Our Crisis 24 team tracks intelligence issues all over the world. So large scale companies utilize us for even just tracking their shipments from the other end of the world, getting into Canada. We track everything from weather, terrorist reports, intelligence reports. All of our Crisis 24 staff are former intelligence people. So the risk management combined with systems and technology are 2 of the biggest growth modes. Our security guard services is the largest in the country. And then mobile patrol is also another area. I mentioned the idea around you might not have a guard on your site 24 hours. Then you definitely need, if you don't have if you don't have a guard 24 hours, then you definitely need that mobile patrol aspect as well. I think some takeaways here are that, no one tool is going to solve your problems. You need a multitude of tools. And I think when it comes to that, we're a one-stop shop, as well as the fact that we have a embedded staffing company makes it even better in terms of our overall services that we can offer our clients.
Thank you. What do you think the biggest vulnerability is to supply chain security and your cargo?
I think most of the people on this call will probably answer it better than me because they're more experienced, but I'll certainly take a stab at that one. It's just a vulnerability of losing it at any time. I also think that that you guys rely on carriers and suppliers. You have a multitude of relationships with other people. So in some cases, you're letting somebody else take care of your cargo. And so I talked about that earlier in the presentation about like audit your carriers, make sure, what are they doing? Do you have embedded technology within the trucks? Do you know where they are at all times? Do your drivers can your driver send distress calls? These are all things that you guys would know better than me, but they should be in place.
Thank you. Does GardaWorld assist with investigating external parties to a shipment, including carriers?
Yes, we do. We have a complete consulting and investigations team. I touched base on them with our cargo theft, but they can go in if you think something's not right and something hasn't happened yet. Absolutely, they can go in. Our consulting and investigations team is made up of all ex-law enforcement. They're all former police detectives. We can embed teams into your site. We've put people in the warehouse undercover, and we've found a lot of bad guys that way. So yeah, we can work with you on that front too. So
do you assist in those auditing services that you mentioned earlier to audit?
Yeah, so our consulting and team is also part of our investigations team, but our consultants are also all former either law enforcement or intelligent from the intelligence community, CSIS, CIA, and they will come in and audit your site, and usually depending on the size of the site, depends on the time, and they'll present you with a complete audit of all of the things and more that I mentioned, and everything that I discussed on that piece around what they look for, like everything starting from the outside and just working their way right into the inside, and everything like just where you are located and the streets and all that, and then getting into the inside. You're presented with a complete package of that, and I talked about those 3 things that you need to action this right away. This is important. This is not as important as the other 2, but it needs to be in your part. So yes, we do audits on a regular basis.
Perfect.
And we do audits for municipalities as well. And
Hmm.
we do audits in other sectors. We do audits in retail environment. And we even do them in offices where, people want that added level of security.
Right. I have a question here from Miko. They've been looking for a portable device that drivers can place in the trailer that alerts them if doors are open, if they're sleeping at a truck stop, for example. But it allows them to detach it as they use different trailers, so it's not a wired power source. Does anything like that exist at Garda?
I would have to check with that one. I think whoever asked that question, if you could email me on that, and I would get my systems and technology team involved to see if I can get an answer for you. I know that technology exists. I'm just not sure if we have it, but I know it exists. Yeah.
Yes, so I will be sharing the recording and presentation slides tomorrow, and in that email, I will include Neal's contact info, so anybody can reach out to him if they have further questions. Following up here is I know you mentioned you have ex-police officers working on your investigations team. Are you involved in any form of community policing, or do you have any future plans in this space?
Yeah, we are involved in community policing at a lot of different levels. So, and that is a great question. Thanks for asking that. Our national vice president for national accounts is Sean Sporton, and he sits on the chair. He's president of the Crime Stoppers in Toronto. And across the country, many of our employees also are involved with Crime Stoppers. We're a big supporter of Crime Stoppers. Our CEO also helped create the BOLO program. That's BOLO, and that is Be on the Lookout. I don't know if you've ever seen, if you've been driving around, sometimes you'll see a big billboard and it's yellow and it's got a photo of a bad guy and it says Be on the Lookout. That's the BOLO program. We've apprehended people all across North America. The BOLO program is designed to catch really, really bad people, who are wanted for murder. And it's been very successful. As far as community policing goes, we've worked in various municipalities to support I don't want to say non-policing stuff, but things like issuing tickets, bylaw infractions, and a lot of police forces are trying to maybe push some of that stuff out to private security firms so that they can focus on the real task at hand, which is policing. We've had some success with a municipality just north of Toronto where we implemented a security program working with their bylaw officers to help with encampment issues at local parks, and it's been really successful.
Thank you. Are you involved at all with Transports Canada's air cargo security program?
I would have to check on that. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Can I, whoever sent that, can you email me?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
What about with international organizations like Doctors Without Borders? Sometimes there are aid organizations that require security and
part of our crisis
areas
20,
of the world.
so part of our crisis 24 team is also international, and they can embed a team anywhere. And we have a security company. We run a security company out of a few countries in Africa. We help people in terms of travel through our crisis 24. It has an app. So let's say you're an engineer going to a mine somewhere where there's been some geopolitical challenges. We can get this app loaded onto your phone, and you check in at various spots. You've arrived at the airport, you just check in. If you have a medical emergency, we can have a doctor on the phone immediately. If you're in a situation where you need to be removed from where you are, we can send in an extraction team right away. And obviously that's kind of, you're in a bad country and you've got yourself in a bad situation. So yeah, we do have people that can get in and get you out. Because our crisis 24 platform is built from intelligence, we also have a lot of embedded security people in those countries. And then we've partnered with, or not partnered with, but we've brought on doctors who are on call, who come from military backgrounds, who are able to triage. So if you're in a situation that it's mostly for senior level people that are flying into places that, they're a bit of a hot spot. And so that's that part of that Crisis 24.
Thank you. What kind of training do you offer your clients' teams in order to stay safe?
It would depend on what they were looking for, but
Mhm.
we have all our training is in-house. We can offer everything from first aid, nonviolent crisis intervention, we have all kinds of security training, situational awareness training, active shooter training. So yeah, we have a portfolio of training that we can offer. We do also we do sell our training programs. A lot of the municipalities that have their own in-house security guards, we do a lot of their training.
Great. Thank you, Neal. You've answered all my questions that I had, and everyone else is here. If anyone has any other questions, please let me know, raise your hand, or you can put it in the chat. Just a reminder that our conference is June 5th to 7th in Halifax this year. Our room block is almost sold out, so if you are coming to conference, book your room as soon as you can. That way you can get our preferred rate. And our next webinar will be Incoterms on May 1st, so we'll have a week break. I'm not seeing any other questions pop up. Like I mentioned, I will share the recording and the slides as well as Neal's contact info in an email tomorrow. Thank you, Neal, for your time today. Thank you all.
Yeah, if I could just add,
yes, of course.
Yeah, if I could just add, you've got my email, so I do owe some people some answers. So please don't hesitate to reach out or connect with me on LinkedIn. Hoping to see some of you in June in Halifax. And I would also ask you guys, like at the beginning of the call, how would you have rated your security program? And now at the end of this call, how would you rate your security program? So I look forward to hearing from you all. And take care, and thanks for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you. Yes, there will be a pop-up survey as soon as the end calls. If you can just give us your feedback on the session. Thank you all again. I wish you a very happy Wednesday. Oh, and we'll be at Truck World tomorrow if anyone's attending. Come and find us. Thank you all.
Thank you.